vulnerable and increase transparency and accountability. I'm very proud to support this.
Call to your off level.
Tēnā koe, Mr Chair, kia ora tātou katoa. Mr Chair, last week was, and probably passed most of us by, was the International Day for Indigenous Peoples. And so I want to reflect, I suppose, on my contribution to this debate on a statement out of the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. And it goes, we're talking about Article 14, and it states the following statement. Indigenous peoples have the right to establish and control their educational institutions, providing education in their own languages and in a manner to their cultural methods of teaching and learning, and that we have the right to all levels and forms of education without discrimination. So you'd understand against that background, Mr Speaker, and having the Associate Minister of Education, that would be relatively comfortable and actually quite happy with the amount of money that we were able to secure with respect to advancing Māori education. What I'm talking about is that in Budget 2012, the most significant, there's a couple of areas. Firstly, $76 million specifically targeted at Māori education. There was a particular focus on early childhood education with an emphasis on Te Reo Māori and Tikanga Māori, $35 million all up. And in another area, targeting resources, $8.5 million to support learners to achieve NCEA, in particular in Māori medium education. And finally, the other procurement that we got was a massive $33 million for teaching, leadership, curriculum focus, and to accelerate the achievement of Māori learners. Now, Mr Chair, that's all pretty fantastic from our point of view, in particular, as I say, from a Māori Party perspective, and being in an agreement with the National Party, because these gains are for our whānau through education. But I do want to sound one particular warning, and it is specifically focused on the 95% of young Māori students who are in the general stream school. Now, education of our tamariki and those mainstream schools, sir, we believe is very much a priority, that we should pretty much focus on that. And of course, Minister Hekia Parata has been upfront, I suggest, about demanding excellence and requiring accountability, and in some forums actually achieved, copped a lot of flack for her particular stand. But from my perspective, intentions, I think, are honourable. But we need to see the difference. We need to see the difference that it's going to make in terms of young Māori learners. Now, Mr Chair, one of the things that the Māori Party did try to advance is a kaupapa called Tātai Ako, which is all about cultural competency, setting some standards for teachers to achieve, that they need to develop in order to engage Māori learners to achieve at the very highest level. Now, it has not been rolled all the way out as yet, but we're hoping that it will achieve that. The key point about Tātai Ako is that it was developed to help all educators think about what it takes to successfully teach Māori learners. It's not a responsibility that any educator, we believe, should shirk or refer on to the Māori teacher to deliver. We expect that action and accountability must come from all of our educators. We must see action, because for far too long we've been talking about a lot of initiatives without too much movement with respect to achievement levels. Mr Chair, too many schools, staff room schools, I believe, have got kahikitira in their right hand, but have wrapped it up in cellophane, and it's never been open. And that's, while we might have the strategy, we actually haven't moved towards implementing it in a real a strong way to address the kaupapa of kahikitira at its very heart. If the Education Review Officer is charged with holding schools to account, then we would expect to see them have much more transparency around the schools that deliver and the schools that are clearly failing to make a difference. We must do that. While there is a mechanism within the Education Review Office, accountability mechanisms, it sort of stops there because nothing is taken on. Now, the Promoting Success for Māori Students School Progress study that was recently published surveyed 287 schools from full primary to secondary school levels, and the data showed clearly that sustained Māori underachievement was basically a part of our education system. The report found that a substantial number of schools did not review their own performance in relation to Māori achievement, did not make effective use of the data to improve programs, and they did not conduct research about students' learning. And is it that they didn't really care, or is it that they just didn't know what to do? well, whatever it is, it's not good enough, and from our perspective, from the Māori Party's perspective, we need to do far better. And I suppose that is why...
The member, just before I call the next member, the Māori Party has used its allocation. If the member wishes to take other calls, they'll have to talk to one of the other parties. So I'm going to call Sue Moronis.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, in this debate about the budget for education,